Uh, it's great to have everybody tune in to Let's Talk Cardano. And today is a really special one at that, because not just because I am hosting the event, but there's even more important stuff afoot, right? We have the UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, with us on the show. And so why doesn't everybody just go and do a little introduction round? Why don't we start with you, Alexander?
So yeah, of course. Hello, Dan. Thank you for hosting today. So my name is Roxanda, and I work at Switzerland for UNHCR, which is the national partner of the UN Refugee Agency in Switzerland. I work in communications and innovation, and basically we are mandated to raise awareness on the cause of forcibly displaced people around the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say I specifically work in innovation, so with blockchain and all these kind of things from January only. So I'm still learning. But the Cardano community has been super helpful. So it's great.
Hey, it's never too late to start. It's never too late to start. Actually, after some introductions, I'll give you a little bit more of my kind of personal experience in this particular matter. So, okay, who wants to go next?
I'm happy to.
Bueller? John, not Bueller, but John. Okay, John, why don't you go next?
My name is John. I'm the CMO of Goat Tribe. We're here as one of the collaborators, and part of this is the Hoofs Initiative, which we're happy to be a part of and share awareness for refugees.
Awesome. Yeah, and John is, if you guys don't know who John is, you better get a grip with reality, because John is like a monster in the Cardano ecosystem. Not like an evil monster, a good monster. Like the Hulk, when he actually kind of half humanized, that is John. Okay, not when he was crazy and like lost on some distant planet. When he humanized in Endgame, and you get half Hulk, half not Hulk. Yeah, that's John right there. So great to have you, John.
Flattered. Just the CMO of Goat Tribe today.
Okay, well, today he's going to be, in his CMO Go Tribe, I guess, wearing that CMO Go Tribe hat, the invisible hat.
Yeah, I almost wore the hat today, but got to look professional today.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it kind of looks like you got that coffee cup out of, the abyss. Anyway, all right, who wants to go next? All right, how about we do Alexandra? I'm sorry, I screw up names.
Everybody does. It's Alex is good. Alexandre is usually what the Frenchies call me by, but Alex really works great. Thanks for having us, Dan. I work on impact and sustainability at the Cardano Foundation, partly on blockchain for sustainability, which is what we're talking about today with the UNHCR project and a few other projects that I'm currently coordinating. And then another really interesting topic, but out of scope for this, is the sustainability of the blockchain. And that's some stuff I love to nerd out about, but really happy to be here. It's a really important day today. It's World Refugee Day. It's the 20th of June. So yeah, really looking forward to a conversation.
Awesome. Yes, it is. It is, in fact, the 20th of June, World Refugee Day. And this is, synergistic to actually having this particular podcast, or what are the kids calling these things these days? Is it the podcast? Is it like a TV show? Look, I'm old. Okay, I need to stay in with the hipsters. Anyway, thank you, Alex. Okay, I'm not gonna pronounce it in French. My French is terrible, meaning like I can't speak French. So, and I can't even do a French accent. So, Alex. Okay, thank you, Alex. And so, last but not least, we have Chandi with us. Why don't you do an introduction?
You are massacring names today. It's the best.
I suck at names. I look. I'm terrible at names. Okay. I would screw up Charles's name, and I've been working with the guy for 7 years. Okay, so just don't judge me.
So my name is Shadi, one of the co-founders of Plutus Art and an artist myself. And I'm on the call because I'm also working with the UNHCR on a campaign that we're doing together for the refugees. And to me, the reason I decided to do this is mostly because I am Lebanese, and Lebanon is in a place geographically in the world where we see a lot of things that happen with refugees. We went through it as a country back in the 80s and 90s. So it's something very close to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chandy. Chatty. Look,
yeah,
okay.
Shad,
I'm gonna
Shadi.
Shadi. Okay.
It's
Somebody
a French
please screw
spelling
up
for
my
an
name.
Arabic name. It's a French spelling for an Arabic name, and
Please,
I'm an
somebody
English
please screw up
speaker,
my
so
name.
go ahead.
Please, somebody screw up my name immediately. Anyway, listen, let's get to the crux of this, okay? I was really excited to actually be moderating this space, not just because the mission is so awesome. The UN mission is so awesome, not just because it's Refugee Day, not just because this is Let's Talk Cardano, but because actually this has a very personal, I guess, personal subtext for me. I myself was a refugee. So some of you might know, some of you might not know. I was born in Soviet Ukraine, and so being Jewish, during the Soviet era, the Soviets were showing how nice they are. Once in a while, every 10 years, they'd let the Jews leave that wanted to leave, right? And Ukraine of that time wasn't very favorable for Jews. I would say there was a lot of discrimination, anti-Semitism going on, and so a lot of Jews left to go to the West, go to the U.S., go to Israel. And so myself and my parents were actually political refugees. So we went through the entire process. We left Ukraine. I myself after 12 years in Ukraine. My parents after 40 years in Ukraine. They were in their 40s when they left. We had to basically pretty much give up everything, pack a few suitcases. We couldn't go straight to America because there was a process that we had to go through. So we had to go through Austria, we had to go through Italy, and to basically be processed as refugees. And so I remember this feeling, I remember this feeling of having to kind of leave your entire life and to really, like I remember these things, and I was still a kid, right? And I can imagine how it was for my parents, but I remember these things that I was thinking, this is all I know. This is the world that I know. And now I have to leave this. And how do you process that as a human and as a person and as a child? Because there's so many children that are displaced today as refugees in the world, and I remember actually thinking to myself that, I wanted to kind of retain something of my life. And I remember kind of stubbornly taking my my train set with me. I had this railroad, electric railroad train set that I dragged across half the world into the United States. And seeing refugees today, seeing especially the crisis in Ukraine and all over the world, but especially in Ukraine because I was actually there last year with Charles and several other people. It kind of brought back these memories. They brought back these kind of almost like tears to my eyes. And I can go on about this for a while. I mean, this is really it's kind of a really emotional topic for me, but what I want to kind of talk about today is that we don't have to go through, refugees today really don't have to go through what we went through, basically being displaced without anybody knowing who we are, spending the night at a train station in Warsaw because we were trying to get on a special train to go to Austria. And if we didn't, we'd be completely lost because we had no money and no place to go. And we couldn't get back into the Soviet Union because they took away our passports at the border. So we were basically just, stateless. These feelings, having the possibility of sovereign identity, right? To be able to prove your sovereign identity, even though you're a displaced refugee, to be able to get transparency into into help from, say, the UN and UN based organizations for the refugees in a more streamlined and a more in an easier way, right? Being able to use blockchain tech, which is what we're here for, use blockchain tech for things like traceability, and being able to efficiently deliver supplies to refugees that have been displaced. All of this is very kind of, it's very close to heart for me on a personal level. And I really want to kind of talk about this and start really, I mean, I'm just gonna, grab the first thing that kind of came to my mind. And let's talk about transparency, and let's kind of do a round. Why is transparency important when dealing with a refugee situation? Why does why would the UN feel, for example, that transparency is important to them and the refugees and all the people involved within this ethos that is basically being people are being a part of? Why don't we let's see, who should we start with? Okay,
sounds like
Sandra,
something maybe Roxanda, yeah.
yeah. How about we start with you? What do you think about that?
So, well, obviously, at Switzerland for UNHCR, we raise, what we do is we raise funds to help forcibly displaced people, etc., around the world. There are 110 million people who are displaced today, and it's increasing over the years. UNHCR has been funded in the 1950s after the Second World War, and it was mandated for 3 years, and we're still here today. So yeah, as the number of people who are displaced increases and the budget is also needs to be increased, we are looking for innovative ways. And blockchain, I mean, we had this project at UNHCR earlier this year that was launched, and it was successful. It was a cash disbursement project for Ukraine. So people who had phones would have a wallet on their phones, and we would send the money in cryptocurrency, and they could go to a MoneyGram, for example, and take it out. And obviously, since people give us money, it's important for them to know where it goes. So yeah, I guess, I mean, I would answer that, but I don't know what other people think. Alex?
Well, how about you, Alex? I mean, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so I think, transparency is one of the key elements of value add of blockchain technology. As a ledger that's immutable, that's distributed, decentralized, it can really provide clear information about transactions of value, whether they're monetary or otherwise. And I want to go back to the point that Roxanda was making about resources. One of the main challenges that we understood from our discussions with UNHCR over the past, it's almost a year and a little bit now, when they first reached out to us when the Ukraine war broke out, looking to mobilize resources. And this is a term that they use, and this is some UN lingo that we need to learn in the Cardano ecosystem, because mobilizing resources is financial. Of course, we need funds to make certain things, certain wheels turn, and to be dispersed to refugees, to be dispersed to different organizations that are servicing them. But on top of that, resources are also non-financial and in kind. And so what we saw in our conversations with them was that they're looking at innovative ways to mobilize resources in a consistent and sustainable manner. So typically, when a crisis occurs, UNHCR is able to raise funds. So something, what happened in Ukraine happened, and there was a call for resources. Corporates, national donors, individuals came to that call. We saw an earthquake happen in Syria and Turkey. Again, people answered that call. But often in doing so, people are giving in order to support one specific geography or one specific cause, whether this be Ukraine, Syria, Turkey, etc. And so what happens is that you have crisis-linked resource mobilization that only goes to specific crises. And the result of this is that you have chronically underfunded crises in the world right now for refugees. And these are in places where these crises are continuously occurring and that typically fall out of the news cycle and fall out of our minds and hearts as human beings, right? And so one way that we thought Cardano could support, at least at a fundamental level, was for this resource mobilization, where a stake pool at scale, nearing saturation, can provide financial resources that could potentially provide some level of bridging the gap in funding that's required by the UN Refugee Agency. And we see this as kind of a hub, right, for other spokes to come in. And these are the more kind of in-kind resources that get mobilized. These are the incredible Cardano community that kind of rose up to the challenge of supporting UNHCR, people like John, people like Chadi, people like yourself, Dan, that come up and support in a financial or non-financial way. And this is the real value that we see Cardano as a social and technological system bring to UNHCR. And then just to go back to your point about transparency, one thing that we're hoping to achieve by working with Switzerland for UNHCR is their comfort in understanding Web3 technologies, and then in using these in potentially piloting some of these use cases as part of their operations. And of course, how do we do this in Cardano? Well, we do this in a decentralized way. It's not the CF, it's not IO that will prescribe, hey, you need to use this, this, and that. They will come up with a problem. And us as a broad community, CF, IO, etc., including the plethora of people working on solutions for traceability, digital identity, will come and attempt to provide some solutions. And this is an ongoing process that revolves around the stake pool. So really, the stake pool is just one bit of this entire wheel that we're hoping to provide to the UN Refugee Agency.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's, I mean, it's really great to, to have solutions that the community can be involved in, because Cardano has one of the strongest, if not the strongest community out there. I've been in this community since the beginning when everybody still spoke Japanese. And there was 20 people, and we were all on Slack actually. So it was a disaster, but it grew, it blossomed to this beautiful, beautiful thing that the community is today. And well, look, John and Chadi, you kind of know a thing or two about the community, don't you? Why don't you kind of give your take on community involvement and how that's really important for this transparency that we're talking about? Chadi, why don't you go first? Well, from the CF side, what would you say is important? What is this catalyst that we're talking about, right? How is this catalyst made? How do we emphasize transparency and involve the community and to kind of shape these solutions, like say the staking pool?
So I'm not with CF, but I can try and answer this question. Where basically, I think one of the things that us as a community we love is that we debate. We're very transparent with our opinions, with our facts, and we do, as a community, always bring things to the surface. Even if it's Charles, if you've noticed, if Charles says something that the community is not very happy about, they do come out and they do say, okay, you said that, how come? Let's sit down and talk about it. we're using NFTs. And at the beginning, Cardano was not the best. The NFT community was very welcoming of it, but then we were not as well accepted by people that were part of the Cardano community pre-NFTs. Now they see the use cases. Now they understand that we are around 60% of the blockchain, at some days even up to 80% of the blockchain usage daily. So when it comes to transparency, sustainability, and Catalyst itself, Fund 10 is coming up. There are many ways we can use Fund 10 to help the UNHCR with some projects and come up with Catalyst proposals. I think as a community, we are a very giving community. We've seen that a lot. Anything that has to charity, the community loves to jump on and to participate and partake in. I think John can jump in and agree on that too, because he's also part of the general Cardano NFT community, at least. We've seen that Cardano itself is very giving as a foundation, and all the different parts of the Cardano community at large that don't exactly fit in my expertise, which is the NFT community. I've met many people from the Cardano community in Dubai, in Europe, in the US, and there's one thing that unites us is that we do like charity. We do like things that have to do with helping others. Ever since I came into the community, there was never a question that wasn't answered by someone in the community. We needed something, the community jumped and answered. They helped. Someone would DM and say, hey, how about we jump on a call and I'll see how I can help you with this. John being one of them. So like, I feel like Cardano is the best blockchain for the UNHCR, mostly because I'm not saying others don't have that, but from what I have seen, we are the blockchain that is we are the most active in terms of charity, community, giving back as a blockchain, not as a project, mind you, as a blockchain itself. I feel like we are very well placed from different angles to be partners with a big stakeholder like the UNHCR, who are mandated to help. So yeah, I feel like we are very much a very good fit, and which is why it was renewed for another year, and hopefully next year we will be back again and part of the UNHCR movement also.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think maybe I didn't structure the question correctly. I wasn't actually meaning that you and the CF. I wanted to kind of get your take on the CF's role in this, because the community is, you know, the CF, one of the functions of the CF is to kind of have the, you know, finger on the pulse of the community, and you being part of the community, I wanted to kind of get your take on what would this you know, mojo look like. Maybe John can kind of touch on that a little bit. I mean, what do you think is that you know, magic combination between community participation, what the CF does as far as you know, kind of encouraging these things in the ecosystem, and just in general, how can this be used as kind of as a tool to meter transparency within these processes that happen, if that makes sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, right now, as we are entering into a you know, uncertain market right now, you know, the roles of these entities become more and more clear. I think when it comes to the Cardano Foundation, they really are, you know, there to garner the adoption of Cardano, right? But with that, who is Cardano? Well, that's the community. And I think it's really important for us to realize that as they're the shepherds, we must come to the actual door, the actual gate, to see, hey, what can we do? And in that moment, we now have the opportunity to showcase how can Cardano help refugees. And just the transparency aspect of it, being able to see where funds are going into maybe a third party, and they're trusting this organization to use these funds. And just like us with what we're doing with the UNHCR, we're using their image, and with that, there's a monetary value coming in, and how that's operated in a transparent way also gives them some encouragement to continue with us. So with those three parties, you start to create a relationship that might be something the future may look at.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's very important to understand that balance, because again, the CF has a very kind of interesting role within the community because, and this is actually something that people from other communities that might not be as decentralized as the Cardano community don't understand. An entity like the CF shouldn't be like your the big brother, right? The CF should be and is an organization that kind of fuels the catalyst for these community led initiatives, right? It kind of gives them the tools to do so, but they don't manage these things, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. It's about that balance between what the CF does to encourage these activities and what the community does to kind of pick up and to kind of run with these things and to create these wonderful tools like this cooperation that we're talking about here. So yeah, it's very important. Like I said, it's very important for transparency because you get the community to kind of audit, right? So that's where the auditing happens, right? So it's not siloed in this one place. And it's like, these beautiful things are happening from this one siloed magic place. No, you see where it comes from. That is where the transparency is so important, and it makes the most sense. Now, I'd like to kind of move to something that Alexandra was talking about a little while ago. So you were talking about doing some work with the refugees during in the Ukrainian war last year. I actually was last April, myself and a few people from IOG went down to Rzeszów, Poland, and then proceeded to the border with Ukraine of a town that I still can't pronounce the name of. There's just it's a bunch of consonants and no vowels in the name, so it's a Polish name. But anyway, it was a border town right on the border with Ukraine on a road leading to Lviv. And the UN had tents set up, other private entities also had tents set up from all over the world, actually, helping refugees, giving them supplies, giving them food, giving them even cell phones, all these things that refugees need. And of course, when you're there and you kind of have this more or less safer space, right? Because the Polish side was a lot safer than the Ukrainian side. You can kind of have that more personal conversation with the person. You can understand what they're about, and so it's a little easier to kind of develop or understand the person, understand the environment, and to be able to kind of gauge if somebody's actually not the best actor. And the reason why I say that is because there were actually some of my colleagues, not IOG, but just colleagues in this game we call the blockchain business, are from Eastern Europe, not from Ukraine in particular, but former Soviet republics. And as I always tell everybody, I do business well in Eastern Europe because we all suffer from the same trauma of being former Soviet republics. And that's why I can go to Georgia and do business in Russian, and neither I'm not Russian and they're not Russian, but we do business in Russian. It's almost like, oh, hey, brother. Yeah, I remember that pain too. So what they told me is they actually wanted to help the refugees. And so they would bring in supplies, like, for example, medical supplies, right? But the problem was that, so you cross the border because, you could cross the border. It wasn't like, World War II type of stuff. You could cross the border more or less without trouble. And you could potentially reach some people that are actually accept these supplies. And, a lot of times they would tell me, it's like, well, we drove these supplies to these guys, and, these guys in Ukrainian military uniforms. And they're like, oh yeah, thanks guys. Thanks a lot for the supplies. They would take these supplies, but then, about 50% of the time you'd find out that they were actually criminals that would deal in contraband, and then they would turn around and then sell these supplies for like 3, 4, 5 times, what they actually cost, because they were profiteering. They're profiteering on this crisis. And so that brings me to what I wanted to touch on, and that is the importance of traceability and the importance of these refugees and these official, quote unquote, entities having a way to verify their identity. And this is where self-sovereign identity comes in, for example. This is where traceability and product traceability comes in, so that you could know where the product originated, if you are getting proper supplies, who it comes from, and who it's being given to, and what happens afterwards, because the traceability line continues. And so, Sandra, I wanted to ask you about that. What is, what does the UN think about the importance of these tools? How feasible do you think they are? And how practical do you think they are in a real refugee situation?
Okay, so very good question. Basically, at UNHCR, we are starting to work with blockchain and things like that. So it's very new to us. I know Alex, I'm passing you the thing after, but I'm just gonna finish. So basically, yeah, we didn't really work with identity yet, but I know in some agencies it's a thing that's starting to, build up, having some kind of identity somewhere in the blockchain. So if you have to flee, you have everything somewhere on there, like on the cloud or something, and not in papers that can be lost or confiscated. And also, I know Alex was talking to some people at UNHCR on ground traceability or something like that. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, Alex.
Well, how about we hand it over to Alex? Why don't you kind of give your take on this?
So when it comes to digital identity, I think this is kind of one of the big visions of Cardano, not only from just a vision point of view and pushing power to the edges by people having their own economic identity and products also having their digital identity, but also, with Cardano from an architectural point of view, the amount of metadata that we can add in a transaction can enable a lot of value add for identity of people and products, right? This is a topic that I've looked into across different UN organizations. You might say that the most mature pilot when it comes to digital identity is called building blocks. And this is something that was implemented by the World Food Program. There's an entire technology stack that essentially enables refugees and people that are displaced to interact with local vendors and have all these kind of traceability things built into it. Challenge therein is that it is built on a private permissioned fork of Ethereum. And so private blockchains will suffer the challenges of scalability when it comes to actual decentralization of nodes and the maintenance of infrastructure. So one thing that we look into at the Cardano Foundation just generally is, and I know IO does a lot of this too, how do we build safe, secure, and privacy-preserving digital identity solutions on a public blockchain? And these are definitely things that we want to explore with UNHCR. We speak to their innovation services. Currently, they run a number of different innovation funds, some of which are refugee-led, others which are receiving, let's say, proposals from entrepreneurs that work within UNHCR. We're also looking to connect these ecosystems with our Catalyst ecosystem, which is very much solutions oriented, and has had many Catalyst challenges that focus on the problem of digital identity and self-sovereign identity. And then the last bit is that we're also looking at other mechanisms that the CF and others in the community can support, whether these be hackathons or other types of initiatives that can enable a connection of people that have knowledge about the actual problem from UNHCR that deal with this on a day-to-day basis, and people that think that they have a solution from a technology point of view, but can actually match that to the problem. So we don't have an issue of technological solutionism, but rather a meeting of the minds on an equal playing field, where, again, this is the value of Cardano. It is not just about the technology, which is incredible. It's actually also about the people and our community that is also tremendously incredible. So yeah, decentralized identity, self-sovereign, that is definitely something that we're looking into right now.
Yeah, this is so important. And so you were talking about other, I guess, other tools that are available for us to kind of utilize by other blockchain tools in this particular way, in kind of utilize having unique identifiers for things, having owning credentials, for example, being able to pass credentials, being able to assign something that, tokenize something like, for example, supplies. And so this is actually, I strongly believe that this is a great use case for NFTs. Now, we have, this person, I believe his name is John. Yes, he knows a thing or two about NFTs. So, John, what is your take on this? I mean, Go Tribe, great art, right? But we all know, you and I know, everybody here knows that NFTs are just so much more. You're just touching the top layer when you're talking about IP. How can NFTs be utilized in what we're talking about here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really the main use case of NFTs. What is it, right? It's a identity standard, in my opinion, right? It's that token, that non-fungible token that actually creates that value on top of it. The pretty images, that's just the way we kind of sneak the technology in, really, right? So we can make them bring awareness just from our end, right? Just from the image side. But when it comes to the tokenization side, we can create a use case to connect real assets, right? And with the traceability that we're looking at, how do we get to that point? Well, let's start small, right? Let's just talk about fund management in general, but what can we do with that fund? Well, we can even create little tiny tokens that say this is an administrative token. Right now, you have administrative power. You can do, you are a treasury manager. So now you have the ability to manage the treasury. And with these different signers, now we can actually send money. So that specific use case, even though it might sound very simple, the real value on that is the NFT that made that possible to create that identity, right? And when we're moving into the future, we really want to reduce waste. We want to reduce plastic. And so if you look at the NFT as that digital identity, not only does it help us in the real world, but now we have true use cases that can't really be obfuscated. Can't really be forgive me, you might know the better word right now, Daniel.
Confiscated.
Yeah, confiscated. That's it. It's a really long word. Starts with con and confiscated. Shadi, why don't you give your take? I mean, you know a couple of things about NFTs. Do you have anything to add to this before we kind of move on to our next segment?
I kind of agree with John. NFTs have such a huge use case scenarios, like sets of them, that we're only touching the surface. We see us in me as an artist and as an NFT marketplace co-founder. I'm doing certain things with them. We see the goats with John and his team doing different things. We see NMaker, who is taking NFTs and really kind of opening the floodgates to what you can do with them. They're working with companies from all over. And this is only on Cardano and what we are doing on Cardano. So for refugees, for example, I heard of a while back because one of my friends worked with the agency and she was telling me that they were utilizing blockchain to disperse. And now Roxanda mentioned it before, like cash. Someone asked in the Q&A, they were like, how do they get it? Is it in ADA? From what I understood from Roxanda, that yes, they get it in blockchain, they get it in ADA, and then they can go and swap it. NFTs in general, I mean, for artwork, they revolutionize the art world, whether the gatekeepers want to agree with that or not. But for everything else, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. There's so much that will be changing, from access, like what John said, to everything. Everything's changing with NFTs because we are jumping into such a digital world, especially with now Apple jumping into AR, and we're going to see how NFTs are going to play with augmented reality. There are so many things coming up. It's going to be insane.
Yeah, insane is the word. And I completely agree with you guys. I personally believe, and I'm actually myself am building a project that is actually NFT powered, that has absolutely no monkey pictures attached to them. No, I'm sorry.
Wait, no goats
pictures.
either?
No goats.
Oh.
No goats. No goats. It's a no goat. Listen, John. Okay. Well, sorry. But it does utilize NFTs for traceability, for identity. And yeah, I'm a strong believer that the NFT is such a powerful tool that, you know, it's just in its infancy right now, and can really kind of change, you know, be a paradigm shifting tool for these types of applications. All right, guys. So we're gonna kind of you know, switch gears a little bit, and we're gonna take some questions, right? That's what we're gonna do, right? Right. Yeah. Let's take some questions from the community. All right. So who wants to go first, community?
I think we have a Q&A section actually as well, that has a few questions on it.
All right. So, all right. Well, how about you, John? Why don't you pick one just to get us started?
Let's see here. We say, what kind of collaboration or partnerships do you envision beyond the challenges to further develop and implement your ideas or solutions? And I believe that is geared towards the UNHCR. So what kind of collaborations do you guys are thinking about in the future?
Yeah, so basically we started collaborating with Cardano this year, which is a first for us in the blockchain ecosystem. First, we opened with Refugees our stake pool, and our main goal was to raise awareness on the stake pool. We are working at the moment on the possibility for people to delegate or to donate for pledge. And around this, we are working with a lot of people from the Cardano community, NFT projects. For example, you, John, and the Go Tribe. I don't know if you're gonna announce today something, but yeah, super exciting with Chaddy as well. Super exciting. Everything is based around the refugee, forcibly displaced people's cause. We are, well, I'm not gonna say any other names, let's keep it a surprise, but we have a lot of projects coming up. And it's great for us because it enables us to kind of become more credible in this field. And also, yeah, we feel like we are becoming bigger actors, and we start knowing a bit more. For example, at the beginning, when people were talking about minting or things like that, drop, I had no idea. And now I'm starting to feel like I can participate in the conversation. And after, at the end of the Global Impact Challenge with Cardano Foundation, we would like to keep our stake pool. And that's why, yeah, we would like to first increase delegations and also increase awareness on our cause. And we also have a form actually on our Twitter, UNHCR CH Innov. I know it's complicated said like that, but also on our With Refugees pool Twitter, you have a form where you can fill in if you want to participate. It's up to you to tell us how you would like to tell us about your project, etc. And if it's a match, then why not? So
yeah, maybe I can fill in a little bit there too about some of the collaborations you're doing now as well. So we are announcing a little bit today. Part of our collaboration with the Cardano Foundation and the UNHCR is around that transparency and fund management, right? How does Goat Tribe actually come into that? How do we as a community member support that initiative? So thinking about that, we said, oh, well, why don't we start our own initiative? Why don't we start our own fund and utilize this as kind of a proof of concept for others to use? I think it's a really great way for not only our brand, but other companies and other brands to take a look and say, hey, we can do something similar and support us, you know, the UNHCR or what other type of nonprofit they want to. And with that, we created the Kind Hoofs Initiative. You know, it's KINDHOOFS, and you know, goats have hooves, but they're kind, okay? And so it's our way to kind of bring awareness to brands and companies that are actually have shared values and bringing the community together. And so with that, we're going to have a small sale, very, very small sale. So it's your chance, Dan, to get a goat. You know, it's a special goat. It's a historic goat. It's one of the first times the Cardano Foundation has worked together and brought us all here at once. That'll go up on sale at kindhoofs.com today. And yeah, I would say that should be up if not now, within that next hour or two. And there's only limited to 160. It's a very, very, very cheap price of 30 ADA, but it's how we kind of give back. All proceeds will go directly to the UNHCR. And with that now comes a proof of concept, right? Now we have a way that brands can support nonprofits. And not only that, but a nonprofit can say, hey, this is how we can manage a fund. And what's next, right? Now it's instead of just feeding them information, they have something that is actually live and can be used as a not only a proof of concept, but a case study as well.
Well, John, so you kind of publicly, you know, peer pressured me into getting a goat, I guess. All right.
I do recall you saying you only buy things. You do not.
I do. No, and you know what? I stand by that. You know, I understand that this. No, seriously, I understand it's a product. I understand that you guys put in effort into this, and yeah, I don't expect, you know, preferential treatment or anything. So while I appreciate the offers I get for free NFTs, you know, if somebody else is paying for this NFT, I'll pay for it as well. Now it doesn't mean that you can't get me, you know, like a nice dinner or a cake or, you know, just a beer or something next time I see you if I get one. That is, I never said that's not okay. I never said that's, and I never said that's, yeah, that's not okay. It's okay. It's okay to do. You know, listen, Look, so Shadi either wants to say hi with a little. He's got a little yellow hand there. I think. I mean, hi, but also I think you wanted to say, you wanted to add to this discussion.
I'm always up to saying hi, so hi. But yes, I wanted to add quickly that one thing I would like to see come up is maybe help refugees help themselves through Cardano, and maybe work on a catalyst or something with the Cardano Foundation, where in lower risk areas, maybe where we can go in as a community with tech, let's say a computer room or something, and they can learn how to program with maybe Aiken, which is a much easier contract development language right now to build on Cardano, and maybe help refugees learn skills that when they break out of their refugee status, they can, because as you know, Daniel, with your because I've known refugees too, and with your family, if you have refugee status, sometimes you're not allowed to work, or it's not as easy for you to get work in the country where you are a refugee. So if they can work online and support themselves online, there's a bit of a pride issue sometimes where a lot of them don't like the fact that they cannot work. They feel like they're useless. They feel like not only have they lost their homes, but they've also lost the ability to provide and to take care of themselves. So if we can, I would love to see something like that happen, where we can figure out a way where we can bring education to those refugees and then help them help themselves through Cardano and the Cardano Foundation. If that can happen, to me, that is an amazing project that we can all support and work on. And someone asked about my project. Sorry, this just for the UNHCR. I will start showing them off. I'm working with John. He's kind of coordinating all of us, all of the different projects. And we will start showing them off soon, so people know what to expect when they do purchase them.
Awesome, awesome, yeah, and you know, you kind of touched. Actually, this is very real, and this is actually again very kind of hitting home for me again what you just said about well, not we were allowed to work, right? So we came to, when we immigrated to the U.S., we were allowed to work, but you know, what can you do? You speak no English. You know, get very minimal amount of money. You're I remember we used to you know, trash day was like shopping day for us, because we would, you know, we would go and see what people are throwing out, because that would be things that we take, you know, furniture, electronics. Somehow I snatched up a Betamax VCR with my luck. You know, it's, I don't know if you guys, any of you guys, I mean, you guys might be a little too young for Betamax. It was this format that was supposed to be better than VHS, but never took off. And so like nothing at the video store actually fit the thing. There was like a tiny section of Betamax tapes and nothing else fit in this thing. So somebody threw it out. It's like, all right, I got a VCR. It was like one of those things. And so finding jobs was a big deal. And, you know, you had these guys, I mean, they weren't just, you know, meat packers and farmers that were coming to the US. These were doctors, these were scientists, these were, you know, my father has a PhD in cybernetics, and the guy came to the US at 44 years old with no English and no job. And he literally had to work for almost minimum wage at first. And yeah, being able to actually have somebody, and well, what happened to a lot of these Soviet refugees is they went to computer school, and so they learned to trade, and a lot of them actually became programmers. And so it is very important, you know, to be able to kind of provide that for people, provide a way to, you know, to just get a little bit of an opportunity inclusion, of a bit of a leapfrogging opportunity when you come to the country. And so that if you want to, you know, if you have the will, and as many refugees do, you know, because you don't really know what you can do really until you've been put in that kind of situation. You know, you either are, it really shows what kind of person you are, you know, surviving that type of situation. And yeah, it's very important to give opportunities to people in these new environments so that they could succeed. All right, guys. Well, listen, I think we're about at the well, almost at the top of the hour here. It's actually almost midnight here in Japan. You know, is that the witching hour? Is that what the young folks are calling it these
Yeah,
days?
you're gonna have an ingenious moment as soon as you get off here. You're like, I figured out the one solution. That's it.
Yeah, you know, I'll finally be able to say everybody's name without screwing it up. Like I'll get off, it's like, oh hey, bum 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 bum. It's not gonna happen while I'm still on here. So, listen, guys. Look, you know, I could go on about this for a while. I mean, this is an amazing topic. This is a great group of people that we have here today. Thank you very much for really kind of engaging in this conversation today and in these topics, covering these things, giving your perspective on things. The cooperation here is amazing. You're doing great things, and yeah, I mean it's just a winning combination. You know, Cardano and the UN doing good, utilizing Web3. Yes, John, I said Web3, even though I'm one of them. I'm like I'm a blockchain boomer. Okay, I say Web3. You mean blockchain? Why do you say Web3? Anyway, it's great to have everybody here. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Hopefully we can do this again. Hopefully we can kind of indulge a little more into all these different topics. And yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks everybody for watching. And we will see you soon.